Greetings to everyone. I'm Jeannie Rapstad. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Hello, hello, good evening, Madam Jeannie.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here. I'm delighted to be here to share my masterclass, Humor and Joyful Learning.
Wow. And you know what? It's quite interesting. You're an author, you're a comedian, but the unique quality that you have, and that's how you're known as, is the lady with the unique style of wearing hats, different hats. And I believe, and this is something which really fascinates me, that you have this huge variety and huge collection of hats. So before we begin the master class, a little bit about you and your hats.
Okay, I would love to tell you about my hats. I have 170 of them now,
Oh, last time
and
there were 150, so they've increased.
they have increased. Because right now I'm presenting my show, Jeannie Rafset's Happy Hat Parade show. So I bought a few other hats for that. But how I got started as the classy dame in the hat, it was
Yeah,
about,
classy Dane.
about 6 years ago. Excuse me, I, I am sorry about that. So about
That's
six
okay.
years
That's
I went to a networking event for entrepreneurs because I have my own business, Jeannie Rapstad Enterprises LLC. And while I was there were all kinds of people in the room. And I observed this young man go, "Who's the old bride?" He was referring to me. So I said, if that's how I'm coming across at these kinds of business meetings, I need to, change my look. So I started wearing hats with an ensemble everywhere I went. And pretty soon everybody enjoyed my hats and they started talking about my hats. And so I became the classy dame in the hat and I started doing presentations on this to various clubs and I put together a slideshow and now I have a full-fledged entertainment show, but I never go anywhere without my hat, whether it's the supermarket or go to the pharmacy or out to eat. I always have a hat, and some of them are really quite nice. So
Oh, I love all of your hats. Let me tell you that. I just love them.
one of these days we'll maybe do a show about my hats because
Yes,
some
I
of
was
them,
going to suggest that. That is something which is really needed, hats, so that let people know how it is. We can give them a little insight into that, the kind of shows that you do for, lots of, I think, business meetings and, people having a social gathering and
and
for theater.
some of my hats, they're different styles. So I
Okay.
can help you uh, choose the correct style for your face shape because if you have a small little face and small features, you don't want a big brim hat. You want a
Yeah.
smaller. And if you have a large head like I do, see, I have so many brains, I got a big head. So I have a big head, big features, and an oval face, so I can wear just about any style of hat. I'm lucky like that. But we'll do a show about my hats
Yes,
and
yes, we need to.
but in the meantime, we'll get to how I got into the laugh business. So I just want to start by introducing myself to those of you who don't know me and how I became a humorist, a humor writer, a humor performer, and how I took humor into my classroom and helped my students grow in confidence. So I'm going to go into sort of this introduction. Um, how did I start? Well, when I was a little kid, I grew up in a household with three brothers, and I think that I had to, really fight for the attention because they were louder and noisy. But I was a little chatterbox when I went to grammar school. I used to love to talk to my friends and make them laugh. And, sometimes my teachers didn't like that so much, and they would say, "Settle down." And sometimes
Really? Really? Were
yes,
you naughty?
they would tell me settle down, and they would make me stand in the hallway outside of the classroom. And I was like, okay with that because it gave me the time to perfect my imitation of my teachers. Settle down, Jeannie, settle down. I used to imitate that. Anyway, so
Now
then
that's funny. No wonder you're the comedian.
so I grew up and I started high school, of course, and I was in plays, but I was always going for the laugh. I was
Mm.
always trying to entertain my friends with a joke or a riddle. But I wasn't like on all the time. I was always trying to be clever more than just ha 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 funny. I always wanted to be clever because then when my friends would laugh, I'd go, oh, I'm so wonderful. So I decided to become a comedian. Why not? This is what I had in mind. So I started doing stand-up comedy in the Los Angeles market. I played all the open mic nights. Pretty soon I started getting gigs and working for money. And then over time I put together my show. And then I started teaching at the college level, and I found that a lot of people really needed to build confidence. And a wonderful way to build confidence is through the use of humor. So I'm going to go to my next slide now. So the main points of discussion is what we just discussed. My background as a humor writer and performer, and the benefits of having humor in the classroom is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to give you my key takeaway. If you don't get anything else out of this presentation, I want you to take this away. I'm going to talk to you about how you can develop your own sense of humor because a lot of people are shy and they don't feel like they're very funny and that they can't lead a joke, and how you can help your students. If you are a student, pay attention to this as well. But if you're a teacher or somebody who's in training to be a teacher, you want to learn techniques and strategies that help your students learn from you. So humor is one way to do it. I'm going to discuss how to develop a joke file so that you
Wow.
can punchlines at the ready when you need them. And I'll discuss some speechcraft exercises very briefly that I developed when I was teaching at Purdue University Northwest to help my college students
Wow.
overcome their shyness. So I'll share a little bit of that. And then as a teacher, we all have precious memories. And I'm going to share a humor-based precious memory at the end. So we'll move on to the next slide here. So this is me way back in the
Wow.
I started doing stand-up comedy in the late 70s, and this is what I look like, long hair, everybody wearing jeans back in the day. Did a little television show every now and then, and this is a picture of me on the TV show The Dating Game. And
How old
if you
were
want,
you here?
this one, I was 27, 28 years old in this picture.
Okay.
And so if you want to see the episode, you can go to this link here on my YouTube channel and you can see me on the dating game. But what
Wow.
happened was when I was doing stand-up comedy in the 70s, it gave me an opportunity to play to so many different audiences because the Los Angeles market is very big. And there are some
Mhm.
really famous places to play, like the Comedy Store, the Improv, uh, the Laugh Stop, all these places that I used to play. And then I started doing a regular show, half-hour show at a place in Hollywood called the Natural Fudge Company. And that's where I really started developing some sketches that are in the show that I have to this day. All these years, I have some of those characters from those early days. So now I am a working actress and comedian as well as a few other things. So these are just some of the flyers. I'm showing you here on this side my show, Jeannie Rapstad Presents Comic Sketches. This is a trademark in the United States Patent and Trademark Office.
Wow.
This first picture here is Gladys Stumpf. She is one of the very first characters that I developed way back in my stand-up comedy days at the Natural Fudge Company. And
Uh-huh.
here are some photos of other characters that I'm in there. And I have in my show a sketch from the dating game that I show on there, and I talk about that. And here is my Happy Hat Parade show. And here's some photographs of some of the hats that I show in the show that I present to audiences at upscale senior residence communities and theatrical venues, and anybody that has a club, social organization that wants an after luncheon entertainment program, they would book me, and I would bring my hats, and we talk about the history of hats, and then I would bring hats that people could try on, and we have a lot of fun with that.
Wow.
Then I have speaker coaching and a speaker's workshop, a humor workshop for young people. And then I have a humor workshop for business speakers. So first, let's talk about online speaker coaching. I still do this. People book me and I work online through Zoom, and they perfect presentations for their job, or maybe they're competing in a speech competition, or maybe they're an entrepreneur that's competing in a pitch competition for money. And so I've been doing this for several years. Some of my entrepreneurs have won tens of thousands of dollars in pitch competitions because
Wow.
because I help them improve their ability to present their themselves and their ideas to the judges. My speakers have won elevated rounds in Toastmasters International Speech Competitions. So this is a major part of my own personal business. And then I have this humor workshop for young people where I'm trying to help them. My ultimate goal is to help them develop confidence so that when they go into university or out into the job force, they have confidence in their ability to communicate with their coworkers, with their employers, their supervisors, with their company's clients, because sometimes people work in customer service or they're working directly with the public across a counter, and they need to learn how to communicate. COVID interrupted that process in one way because people were before were only training to do in person. Now we are training to do online presentations as well. So this is one aspect of my humor instruction for young people. And then I have this, I've given this humor workshop for business speakers, and it was very well received because a lot of people, maybe in sales, they go out to meet with customers at the customer's venue, and they need to walk in and have a little bit of personality, maybe a little bit of easy telling the story. So some people are not good at that, and they need training. So that's why I offered this workshop.
Wow.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about, oh, did you want to say something?
No, I said that's absolutely amazing. I loved it. I love that. What all you do it, and in a variety of ways. In a variety of ways.
Yes, this is one of the things that I would like to talk about now is why humor is beneficial in the classroom. Because when we use teach, we as teachers engage our students through, kind of a lighthearted, humorous way, they become less shy. They begin to feel comfortable around us. They engage with us as opposed to just sitting there waiting for the class to be over. If you can use punchlines to help the students learn while being amused and interested, you are really a terrific teacher, because learning should be memorable. We shouldn't just invite students into the classroom and just talk at them, and then when they walk out the door, they forget the whole thing. No,
Yeah.
we should make learning memorable, and we can do that through humor. We can use stories to entertain our students while we provide valuable information, and plan ahead. If you know that you're going to discuss a certain aspect of a topic, plan ahead, create a little story, and maybe you can turn an upside down frown into a smile. That's what you want to do. Have them happy to be in your class and happy to be learning. Um, you should always take command of your classroom with confidence, good posture, and a warm smile. Need to build a positive learning environment. That way, once you engage them at the start of the class, you can hold their attention throughout the entire class. And that's through you showing your personality, your sense of humor, you being warm and inclusive. That will help them learn. Use
So, Madam
purposeful body.
Jeannie, over here, I have a question that comes from Samyukta. She's a teacher. She's a social science teacher in one of the schools in Delhi. She
Okay.
says that what happens is sometimes, when they try to incorporate humor, uh, there's a, rather than having a positive effect, it has a negative one. So maybe I don't know why. Maybe is it because it's done at the expense of someone? How should you avoid that? Because many times, what many educators do is when they incorporate humor, they make someone a scapegoat. So
I
how
would
can, yeah,
I would
yes,
not recommend ever making anyone a scapegoat, because what's going to happen then is that you instill fear in the minds of your other students. Well, one day that'll be me. You
yeah,
see, we don't ever want to target somebody. So when we create an easygoing atmosphere, everybody can feel safe. And so if anybody is going to get a laugh at somebody's expense, it should be the teacher. She can share some funny thing that happened to her.
about
But
herself.
I would never, ever target a student. And see, this is one of the things that I learned when I was a stand-up comedian. There are some people that the audience will, or the other people in the room, and sometimes the classroom is an audience, right? That the audience will accept you making a little bit of fun of, and that's men. The audience do not like it when you make fun of women. So that's one of the first things you learn as a stand-up comedian, is that you never go after a woman. So as a teacher, one of the first things that we learn when we are trying to create that free and easy atmosphere is that we never ever target anybody. And believe me, they will not forget it if you hurt their feelings. I mean, it's almost impossible to overcome that. So never
So,
ever
Madam
do that.
Jeannie, can physical education teachers, the ones who do physical education? So, like, there's a question from Mr. Timothy. He's a, PT, physical training, physical education teacher in schools, in a secondary school in the UK. So he says that, how can I incorporate humor in my physical education classes?
Well, that's kind of an interesting question for me, because I'm not really all of that athletic, but I can say that you can use comparisons of yourself. Like if you want them to do an exercise a specific way, you can
Hmm.
show them the wrong way to do it humorously, and then the
Okay.
correct, but never ever make fun of a student that is not well. I remember way back in high school, we
Hmm.
had a girl in our class, and she was just out of shape, and she had had a very sick childhood. So she really never got an opportunity to develop muscle tone and muscle strength. So when she found herself in my class, unfortunately, my teacher did not have the empathy to understand her background. So she would make fun of her for not being able to run as fast as other people. Believe me, nobody appreciates that. Nobody, even if you can manage to squeeze a laugh out of somebody, nobody ever appreciates it when a teacher or anybody in authority makes fun of a student. Nobody likes it. So I would say avoid that at all costs. Um, and then one other thing I wanted to talk about was your own body movement. Of course, we don't ever want to do things that are threatening. We want to be confident and composed. Poised is the words that I like to use. And I also like to use the word in command, because we have to have uh, an authority figure that is holding everything together, but not like somebody out of the military, but somebody who's obviously in charge. And I was avoid nervous pacing. People I've watched, even professionals giving conferences, when they're using their slideshow clicker, they walk to and from, to and from, to and from, until they get to the point where you might as well just say cha cha cha, because it looks like they're dancing. So we don't want to do that. We want to maintain poise at all times. After all, we're in charge here. We have to look like it.
Right.
Maintain eye contact with your students, bridge the generation gap. You know, we always want to let the students know that we are connecting with them because we care. So make eye contact with them. That's one way to see if they're having a problem that you can help them with, that you can see that they're uneasy through their eyes. You know, be a real person to your students. You know, let them see that you are affable, easygoing, but also in charge and willing to help. Now, this is a picture that I just love because whenever I used to start a semester teaching at university, I would post this. I would post this on my Facebook page and say, "Another first day of class."
Okay.
But this is not the reaction that we obviously want from our students. Like, what is she talking about? No, we don't want that reaction. This is what we want,
Yeah.
right? We're teaching what we want: everybody engaged, happy, smiling, enjoying the class, because then we know that they're listening. And when they walk out the door, they're probably taking something with them.
Right.
So this is the drum roll, pay attention, blah, blah, blah. This is my key takeaway. If you don't remember anything else from what I said today, I want you to remember this. Just like a comedian must learn to work the room that they're performing in, teachers must also learn to work their classroom to keep students engaged. Because as I've just said, you're in command, you're in charge, you make eye contact, you see whether or not they are with you. And if they
Absolutely.
are not with you, then you need to work harder to make sure that they are engaged with you and that they are learning. Excuse me. So this is my key takeaway. Keep them engaged by learning to work your room. Okay, so then I've had people say to me, you know, Jeannie, I'm not really very funny. I don't know if I can do all this stuff that you're talking about because, see, unlike you, Jeannie, I behaved myself in school. No, so how can I learn how to add humor to my speech? And you know,
Mm.
can I? And I'm telling you, yes, you can, because humor writing, humor presenting is a craft. And all crafts can be learned and they can be mastered if you put in enough work. Okay. So I'm just telling you, learn what is funny to you, tap into your own humor. You identify what you think is funny, and chances are your students are going to think it's funny as well. And then if they have some particular thing that uh, they find humorous and they share that with you, then note that you might be able
Right.
to use in the future and write it down. You know, write it down. Keep working at developing your humor because not everybody is funny. I feel like I was born a comedian. I feel like I was wired to do that. Why would I walk around grammar school going, settle down? Why would I do that? It's just because at some point in my little child life, I thought that line was funny. And so, but that's it's not everybody. As I said, some people behave themselves. Okay.
Mm.
So now I have some tips that can help you get to the point where you can start creating your joke file and creating a repertoire of stories that you can take from year to year to year as you're teaching. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every single year that you're teaching. So I do this to this day. I have a humor file. And before, when I first started, it was all paper. Now it's electronic. Of course, I have the folders on my computer that I store jokes in or riddles, or because sometimes I'm like right now, I'm working with some young people and they don't really tell jokes, they tell riddles because it takes a certain level of maturity and sophistication to understand what a joke is. But young children, they can tell a riddle. because it's a question and an answer, and it's easy for them to do that. So I save funny stories, I save riddles. If something happens to me in my own particular life, I write it down, put it in my joke file under a category, and then later when I'm writing something and I need a punchline, I look through and I pull one up and I use it. Saves me a lot of time because
I think this strategy really works, what you
oh
just
yeah,
now mentioned.
yes,
This is a wonderful strategy. Yeah,
it absolutely does work. And I can testify to 30 years of doing this. And
lovely.
times when you are creating a new presentation and you don't want to have to sit there and just think of, you know, one new laugh line where you can go to your file and said, oh, I need a laugh line about a lady wearing a hat to, church or something. And then you've got it right there in your file. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And then after you've developed this repertoire of humorous stories and riddles that you find that your students really enjoy, you can use them next year for the next class. You don't have to create a new set of lesson plans every single year. Now, one of the things I'd like you to use is humor in your presentation slides. A lot of people use really boring slides, a pie chart. Now we have a pie chart. This is an actual pie chart. I mean, that gets a laugh, right? And then you can bring on your real pie chart if you are going to show something. And this is
Yeah.
Professor Darth Grader. Now, this is funny because this is Darth, Darth Vader, but teachers are graders. So here we have a Professor Darth Grader. So if you can use a funny image in your slideshow, go for it. Your
Okay.
slide presentations do not have
This
to
is a
be.
very relevant point. So rather than having the usual pie chart, have the actual pie and then make your chart there.
Because the point is that the class is going to remember this image much longer than they remember that
Absolutely.
pie chart. So visual jokes can be very, very rewarding. And I
Mm.
want to talk to you about slideshows again. Please, and I'm begging you, please do not type your entire lesson onto your slide presentation and then put it on the screen and proceed to read your entire lesson from your slide.
That's
Please.
so boring,
It
Madam
is.
Jeannie. What happens is many people have the full book, they just take it out from the chapters of the book, have
Yeah.
it on their slides, and just keep on reading. And then they say, oh, I have presented, I've made my presentation. And I feel that's really boring. And please, once again, remind everyone this is the way your presentations should look like,
Yeah.
with pictures.
Because the thing about it is, no one, no
Yeah,
matter how much they like you, wants to sit and listen to you read to them for 50 minutes. Trust me, they don't want
absolutely.
to. So what you want to do, you have your script sitting on your desk or lectern right beside you. You've got your slideshow. So if you need to refer to content for the slide that's on the screen, you've got your script right there. Or if you prefer to use a speaker's outline, however you want to do that. But please do not type your script on your presentation slide because no one will appreciate it, and chances are they will tune you out after 10 minutes and won't remember a single thing. Next thing I'd like to talk about is controlling our internal noise. So this goes back to people saying, oh, I'm not good at this. I'm not funny. I don't know how to do this with people. The road to success starts in your mind. So you begin to cut out that internal noise and replace it with other things that build confidence. Like my jokes and anecdotes are funny. I can tell a great story. My timing is excellent. I have the skill to use character voices in my story. I love using humor in my classroom lessons. I'm getting better at using humor in my classroom lessons every time. See, these are the kinds of messages that you send to yourself. that is going to get you a lot farther than you saying, oh no, I don't want to do that. Don't make me, get off my back. Okay, no, don't do that. What you want to really do is build your confidence, because as Abraham Hicks said, when you believe something is hard, the universe will demonstrate the difficulty. When you believe that something is easy, the universe demonstrates the ease. And that universe is you. Your own universe here. Here's another tip. Sorry, I don't know why I have this frog in my voice. I'm sorry. Singing 10 minutes a day will improve your speaking voice. And when I took my shower this morning, I actually sang. So I don't know why I have this throat. But
So,
10
so
minutes a day,
does this work even for those who don't have a voice to sing, or is it only for the singers?
no,
I got
this,
this question from Ketki. I mean, she's a singer, but she says a lot of my friends are non-singers. So will it work for them?
yes, because what singing does is help you with breath control. It helps you with phrasing. It helps you see, when you develop a good speaking voice, you have some tools in your toolbox. But if you want to have a great speaking voice, you need to learn how to develop breath control, projecting from the diaphragm, not just breathing from the bronchial tubes. When I'm singing in my car, nobody else is on the road, I just let it out, especially if I'm on the way to a presentation. When I'm in the shower, I sing, and sometimes it drives my cat into another room, but what the heck. But
Mm.
I sing, and it's only me there, and it helps me phrase, breath control, and even interpret some lines. So if you aren't a good singer, you might possibly develop some singing skills before this is all over. And if you have a monotone voice, then singing can help you if you learn how to put emphasis in the phrases. Just 10 minutes a day, that's all you need to begin to start seeing results from
Wow.
when you are a non-singer. And I have recommended this to a lot of my private clients, and they have come back to me and said, Jeannie, you are right about that singing thing. It's really helping me. Especially people who want to learn breath control. There are some people, okay, I'm going to do an imitation. There's some people who just talk like this, and they just keep talking and talking and talking, and then they run out, and then they take a big breath, and because they don't know how to phrase, they don't know how to breathe when they're talking. Singing helps you overcome those deficits in your training.
Wow.
Now, we're going to talk about, I mentioned a little bit about interpretation when you're singing, but when we are practicing a presentation, we want to bring our words to life. And if you're a new teacher, or even a teacher that needs a little bit more encouragement in your presentation style, spend some time on vocal variety. I have attended many classes in my lifetime. I have a master's degree myself, so I actually went through classes with PhDs that were real experts in their field, that were some of the most boring speakers I ever met. And I had to really, really pay attention. Now, if I had worked with them and said, "Look, let's do a little practice run here," I might have been able to help them. But there are ways that we can uh, change our vocal variety by rate, how fast we're speaking. Our volume, it goes up and down, is a lot more interesting than a monotone. We take it, blah, 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 okay. Pitch, pitch can change the meaning of a sentence. I'm going to give you an example. Simple word, what? 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 Same word. All I did was change the pitch.
That's, yeah.
So I changed the meaning. And you can do
Mm.
this with other ones. Articulation. Are you pronouncing all of the letters that you're supposed to be pronouncing? Here in the United States, we have about 32 different accents, and some of them drop the G and the gerund. So it's always, well, it's raining, or it's snowing, I'm going fishing. Now, instead of snowing, raining, fishing, hunting. So we always want to pronounce the vowels and consonants that need pronouncing. We need to pay attention to that. So this is something that people should pay attention to if you want to be a good speaker and a great speaker. I've seen very average people, you know, they use variations on verbs. I gotta, gonna, you know, I'm a, as instead of I am, they say I'm a, or yeah instead of you. I'm telling you. I'm a telling ya. And then pretty soon you're going there, you don't understand what they're even saying. Fluency is the ability to speak in a way that everybody can understand you, that is not choppy, broken, don't understand. What are they saying? This is the beginning. No, no. Fluency is the way to put together your words so that they are very easy to understand with a natural flow. Nonverbal communication helps you where you are trying to help other people understand you. Eye contact, facial expressions, hand gestures, body movement. These are all things that you can work on in a mirror, put together a presentation, tape it on Zoom, look at yourself and see what you need to change, because we should always be improving. You know, the purpose of our meeting here today is lifelong learning. So we always
Absolutely.
need to be learning and improving ourselves, and we need to take the time to do that. So here's an exercise, a speechcraft exercise that I developed when I started teaching at Purdue University Northwest. I found out that less than 15% of my high school, of my college freshmen had ever had any kind of speech instruction in high school or middle school. And they had never ever spoken at even at a social organization. So they were very, very frightened when they found out that they had to make 5 presentations, each one more difficult than the other in my class. And the fundamentals of speech communication is a required class to graduate in the entire state of Indiana. So this was a required course, and the students were, some of them, very intimidated. So when I discovered this, I developed speechcraft exercises for them to use before we got to the first grading project. So by the time my students got to their first graded speech, they had already been up in front of their class 3 times. So they had broken the ice. And so they scored much higher than people in other classes that had no preparation. So this is what I do. A little piece of paper I'd hand out to each student, and in the red would be the instructions. Please read the line twice. The first time, phone it in. And my definition of phoning it in is using the least amount of energy necessary to get your point across. And we don't want to phone things in because that's, you know, not very interesting to listen to. But for the second reading, add a facial expression, a hand gesture, and a body movement. So I'm going to do that for you right now. I'm going to phone this in. Why did the physics teacher break up with the biology teacher? There was no chemistry. Now I'm going to bring the words to life. Why did the physics teacher break up with the biology teacher? There was no chemistry. Okay, so that adds to meaning. You know, so this is the kind of thing that I would have my students do. And so when they began to rehearse the projects that they were writing for a grade, they understood that it was important to pay attention to bringing the words to life. Here's another one. I would give them an exercise and I would tell them to adopt an attitude. Because lots of times when we are making a point to people, to an audience, whoever it is, our classmates, teacher, on the job, there is an underlying attitude that we have because we're trying to get them to understand what we're talking about. So I used to have them practice that. So here is the statement I gave them. I used to think that it would be cool to read other people's mind. Then I joined Facebook and got over that. Okay, so what attitude do we have here? Well, you can choose whatever attitude you want. But the attitude I chose is, boy, I got wise in a hurry, so I'm going to interpret this for you. I used to think that it would be cool to read other people's minds. Then I joined Facebook and got over that. Okay. So whatever attitude the student wanted to bring to the lines, they could bring it to the lines. Here's another one. Incorporating a pause, bring this sentence to life. You see, pauses are very important because sometimes we can pause, the audience pays attention, because the next thing we want to say to them, we want them to listen to and understand. So pauses can help us insert impact into what we're saying. Okay, so the sentence, the quickest way to acquire self-confidence is to do exactly what you're afraid to do. So now I'm going to bring these words to life, inserting pauses. Okay. The quickest way to acquire self-confidence is to do exactly what you're afraid to do. See, I had what, 3 or 4 pauses there, and it helped bring the words to life. Otherwise, we just phone it in and people may not even pay attention to you. Okay. Now, once you learn how to use humor in your presentations, teach your students how to do it. Be a confidence builder, because you see, many students don't have confidence. As I said, many of them didn't have any training before they got to you. So you are the very first person that is going to be teaching them to stand up in front of their classmates and speak with confidence and poise. So they want to see you have confidence and poise and the ability to do what it is that you are trying to get them to do. I did some customer research with some high school kids. Actually, it was middle school and high school on a product that I developed, which is my Jeannie Rapstad speech rehearsal methodology. So I was interviewing students to see if they thought my method would help them in their speeches. And they were very honest with me. And I remember several of them telling me, well, we don't have a speech teacher at my school. My English teacher helps us, or my social studies teacher helps us. But she's not a very good speaker herself. Ah. So if you are going to be teaching something to young people, spend the time to get good at it, so that
Yeah,
they can see this is a person that I can learn from, because they are walking the walk, talking the talk, walking the
so
walk. That's what we want to do. Okay. Success builds confidence. Confident people are happy people. Confident people can go into job interviews and get the job because they have been able to present themselves well. Laughing is healthy. Humor helps us create a happy and friendly place for our students to learn. I want to just go through kind of briefly here, because I have a really wonderful story to tell you. So I've talked a lot about humor, developing humor, so I'm going to give you a few tips right now. And so the 4 aspects, according to Jeannie Rapstad, to successful humor is the speaker, the audience, the content, and the purpose of
Jeannie,
the.
madam, can we have more focus on your face now? If you could just
Oh,
stop. Yeah.
okay. I'm sorry. I'm
So,
sorry. Thank
yeah,
you for
so let,
reminding me. Thank you
or
for reminding.
is there another slide?
Yes. Okay. I'm going to tell you the story, and then I'll
Okay,
go back.
okay,
Okay. This
okay.
is my precious memory, and as teachers, you will have many of them during the course of your career. I hope you will. But this is, I'm going back 30, 40 years, and because that's how old I am. And I was working for a private school doing plays, and there was a musical director and me, and I was the artistic director, and we were doing a play with first and second graders. So, they're young. Not all of them know how to read. They're learning how to read. You know, when you give them a script, they don't sit down and read the script because they don't know all the words. But we met with them and we talked about how we're going to do this play. And this one little boy was so excited. He jumped up and he said, I want to be in the play. I want to be in the play. So I said to his teacher, well, I'm going to put him in the play. He had a really strong voice. You know, lots of young children, they're kind of shy, and so they speak soft, and you have to keep telling them, okay, speak up, darling. Speak up. The audience needs to hear you. Speak up. But no, this guy was loud. And I thought, man, I love this kid. He's going to be in my play. And the teacher said, oh, I don't know, Jeannie. He's kind of slow. I said, what does that mean? She said, well, you know, he's slow. Well, I didn't know what that meant. So the little boy was so enthusiastic. I said to myself, I have to find a place for him. Well, his grandmother came to pick him up from school. His living situation was that his parents both worked, and his maternal grandmother lived in the home with them, and she walked him to school in the morning, and then she picked him up from school afterwards. So I told her, I said, you know, he really wants to be in the show. We're going to be doing a play, Goldilocks Adventure, and he's really excited about it. So I'm going to put him in the show. And she's, oh, I don't know, ma'am. He's kind of slow. Once again, I'm hearing this term, and I see that this little boy has been labeled, and I don't know what that means. He's already in a box of being slow. So I said to her, well, I'm going to write a line for him in the play. And I said, would you help him with it? Because he really, really wants to be in the play. So she said she would. So Goldilocks Adventure is different from the actual Goldilocks story. In Goldilocks Adventure, Goldilocks and some friends, which would be this little boy, they're on their way to the Three Bears house where they're going to have a party. And during the time that they're walking through the forest, they run into spirits and talking animals and all kinds of things. And every time they would run into a group of people, Goldilocks would tell that group of people that they were on the way to the Three Bears to have a party. And so I wrote the line for the little boy to say, and his line was, and we get tea and cake. And he was really loud, and we get tea and cake. Okay, so every time they had an encounter with somebody, then he would go to the center of the stage and he would tell the audience, and we get tea and cake. All right, so now the end of the show comes. Goldilocks talks about the wonderful adventures that they have, and the little boy takes the stage and he says, and we
We
got
get.
tea and cake. The audience loved him, and he had this really great way of sensing the timing, and he was enjoying having the audience laugh at his line.
Mhm.
Well, his parents came up to me with his grandmother, and they were absolutely delighted. They were so proud of him. And I took that as a lesson in life. We as teachers should never label a student, that a label that's going to stay with them for the rest of their life or their education anyway. And I was really happy that I was able to give this young child an opportunity to shine. And so I just wanted to share that story with you because it is a treasure of the heart for me, and you will have many of those as you teach. Okay, so
Awesome.
I'm going to run through these little tips really quickly, then we'll end it and have some questions. So I was talking about we want to engage with our audience. They want to engage with us. They want to be entertained. So we make the humor relevant to the occasion. So know the audience. And the formula for a simple joke, if you decide that you want to write a joke, is premise, setup, punchline. Premise, what the joke's about, the setup, how you're going to get to the punchline, and the punchline is the laugh line. And if you're really good at this, you do premise, setup, punch, and then topper, topper, double topper. And that was one of the things that I used to strive for when I was doing stand-up comedy. I wanted to get 3 or 4 laughs off the same jokes. Don't ever deliver lame jokes or jokes that hurt other people's feelings. As I told you, lay off the women, don't insult anybody.
Okay, so this would answer the question of one of educators who asked the question that what are some humor no-nos? So I think
Yes,
this is what you're trying to tell us now, that
yes,
don't ever, yeah, these
yes.
points that you're just now mentioning. I think this will answer his question as well.
We don't ever want anybody that took the time to come to our performance or presentation to regret that they came.
Right. Hmm.
We want everybody to leave happy. So we don't pick on anybody, and definitely, if you do give somebody a little bit of a tease, make sure that you know that person and they're going to laugh with you. Okay. Don't pick on a total stranger, because you never know the reaction that you're going to get. And there are different types of humorous jokes. There are original jokes that you wrote yourself, jokes that are in the public domain that you can certainly use. There are puns, there are sometimes comic rants, observational humor, situational humor, and slapstick physical humor, which a lot of comedians use. And self-deprecation humor can be funny as long as the audience can relate to what it is you're talking about. Do not make yourself sound like a hapless loser. We don't want that. We don't want to look like a buffoon. We want to be clever. You can use exaggeration, irony, wordplay, and surprise. And those are ways that you can put together some humor. So now I would like to thank you very much for listening to my presentation, and let's take some questions. If you
Well,
have,
first, that is important, I mean, absolutely wonderfully presented. I love the slides, and I'm sure many who will watch this now will just love them because, like you said, the most important thing when we are presenting something should not be too much of the written word. There should be some visuals,
yes,
visuals with few words, here and there, the key words, so that, the other person gets a little curious about what is to be said. But three or four questions you've already answered. Maka, however, from Georgia has one question, and she still says that what is that one tip, one strategy rather, that never fails to bring about humor in the classroom? Like, supposing, they're in a hurry or something, and they have 10 minutes to, say whatever they have to. In that case, one powerful strategy to create humor in the classroom, what would that be?
I'm going to tell you, and it's just so easy. Just easy. Walk in, you look at all of them in their little faces, you give them a big smile, and you greet them. Hello, how are you? We're going to learn some really fun things today. So pay attention. We're going to have a good time. Just build it up. So that they're relaxing, they're saying, oh, this is going to be fun. And then if you have a little joke that you want to tell them, you know,
Yeah.
started off with a little joke. And so I'm going to tell you a little teacher joke, okay?
Okay.
So an English teacher offered
Oh,
some
English teacher.
English teacher offered some extra credit opportunities to her class.
Hmm.
One of which is that the students were to hand in a picture, a photograph of bad grammar that they saw in their real life, like in an advertisement or a
Okay.
road sign or magazine, newspaper, something like that. And then one student thought about it for a moment and she said, can I just give you a photograph of my boyfriend? He's the personification of bad grammar. Well, the student won extra credit for making the teacher laugh. So that's a
Yeah,
little.
I'm sure about that. I'm sure about that. That was a real witty way of, expressing himself. And probably he didn't even realize it. I mean, she didn't even realize it, that, she was actually being very humorous. I think this is what it is. Everything should flow in seamlessly. And if we want, like you said, we need to do a little bit of our own practice. The more we practice it, the more, seamless we will get in incorporating humor in the classroom. And I think this is one way of absolutely teaching something which will stay for life. Not that, you just listen to it in the classroom and it just goes away. Nothing like that will happen. So this was, as I said, this was always a pleasure to hear you, always a pleasure to, be it a presentation, be it a classroom, be it a conference, be it some kind of a talk show. I mean, It's always wow with you. But yes, we need to have a show where you do tell us about hats,
Yeah,
and maybe everybody can come with their different hats on that show.
I love that.
And
I love that.
then you can tell them, okay, you are wearing the right hat or you're wearing the wrong one. And there's going to be a lot of humor, plus there's going to be a lot of activity. I think we're going to be doing that the next time. Uh,
Yeah.
maybe the
Yeah.
first week of May. So somewhere I'll get in touch with you so we can block the date. But yes,
Okay.
before we go, one powerful, humorous line to say bye bye to everyone. And I leave it to you. Rather than me doing it, I would like Madam Jeannie Rapstad to, wrap up the show, wrap up this classroom in a humorous way, and say bye bye to everyone. Yes.
Okay, I just want to say, no matter what happens in the world, because we can't control that. I just want to spend the rest of my life laughing. Thank you for coming to my masterclass.
Thank you, thank you. And what? How do we say it? How do we say bye bye? Indiana style.
Yeah, what we say, see you later. That's what we
See
say.
you
Yeah.
later. No, is it something like, wait, I'm forgetting that. It's only see you later, or it's something toodaloo?
No, we don't say toodaloo in Indiana. We'll say
Oh,
see you. Yeah.
see ya. Okay, so it's see ya, everyone.
See
As
ya.
Madam Jeannie just now said, and try to, in your classrooms, let's get the humor back. Let's get positivity back. Let's spread a lot of smiles. Life is all about spreading smiles, positivity, sanguinity, and enhancing everyone's self worth.
Yeah.
So, with that, one big smile, everyone, and let's see you all and catch you all pretty soon. And yes, next month, May, we're going to have that wonderful class with Madam Jeannie on our different hats.
Very
Thank you
nice.
so much, Madam Jeannie. Thank you. It was absolutely amazing. So much love and power to you. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.
And a big salute. A big salute.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.